setting an eerie atmosphere. If only Asumi had known the fate that awaited her on this ominous day. "Ha, this is so twisted," she chuckled continuously, interrupted only by the sudden beep of her phone. A notification flashed across the screen. "Pumpkin Knight has followed you." Confused, Asumi pondered. "Who is this? Seems like a stranger," she muttered, eyebrows furrowing. "Pumpkin Knight? What the heck does this person think it's Halloween?" Despite her initial bewilderment, she decided to follow back and couldn't help but laugh at the bizarre profile picture. However, her amusement quickly turned to apprehension as Pumpkin Knight sent her a private message, causing her anxiety to spike. Why did they slide into my DMs? Do he or she know me? Is it a guy pretending to be a girl? Her mind raced with questions. Another beep from her phone shattered the uneasy silence. "Good time to die," Pumpkin Knight's message read. A chill ran down her spine as fear and confusion gripped her. "This can't be real," she thought, struggling to comprehend the cryptic message. As her anxiety escalated, Pumpkin Knight sent another message, revealing personal details about her. Asumi's shock grew as she wondered how this mysterious figure knew so much about her. "Who the heck is Pumpkin Knight?" she exclaimed, her fear mounting. Alone at home, her heart raced and fear coursed through her veins. The doorbell rang and the sound of barking dogs added to her unease. "Who could that be?" she muttered, glancing nervously at her phone. "No way, it can't be him," she whispered, her trembling legs carrying her cautiously towards the door. Could this be the end for her? The doorbell rang repeatedly, accompanied by barking dogs, creating a cacophony of noise. With each ring of the doorbell, her anxiety heightened. She peered out the window, her movements marked by fear. "Why can't my parents hurry back?" she fretted, the buzzing doorbell adding to her growing sense of dread. Suddenly, everything fell silent. She muttered, "Who could that be?" glancing back at her phone to check the profile picture. "No way, it can't be him," she exclaimed, fear and anxiety filling the air. The doorbell rang again. Quietly, she approached the door and peered through the window, her legs and hands trembling with fear. The darkness outside made it hard to see, but she strained her eyes until she recognized a delivery man with a package. She felt a wave of relief wash over her. It wasn't Mr. Pumpkin Knight. Hurriedly, she ran down the steps, calling out, "I'm coming!" Her happiness at the delivery distracted her from thoughts of Pumpkin Knight, thinking it was just another ordinary moment. As she reached for the package, the delivery man's head suddenly burst open, and brain particles splattered on her hands. Shocked and horrified, she felt frozen in fear as footsteps approached, sounding like a bloody Halloween costume designed by a child with a spooky knife for scooping cake and eyeballs. She heard a scary laugh, and her heart raced faster. He chased her relentlessly, causing her heart to freeze as she ran and scanned the room, confused and scared. "He really came," she muttered, not knowing what to do next. She searched desperately for a way to escape, but no one was there to help. She tried calling the police, her mom and dad, but none of the phones rang. In her desperate situation, she thought of Kazu, her classmate, whose phone always rang promptly. She dialed his number and pleaded, "You've got to help me, Kazu. It's Pumpkin Knight, their nemesis." Naoko Kirno, also known as Pumpkin Knight, was their old classmate from junior high, who had been admitted to a mental hospital and recently escaped. Naoko Kirno was their old classmate who had been admitted to a mental hospital. This morning, she had killed all the nurses and patients in the ward and escaped. "No way," Kazu said, informing her that Naoko now identified as Pumpkin Knight. Naoko was a student they had bullied back in school, and as they were discussing, her blade plunged into Asumi's back. Asumi's life flashed before her eyes as the knife penetrated deep. She tried to scream, but Pumpkin Knight, aka Naoko Kirno, smiled while spinning the knife. Asumi was terrified. Kazu was still on the phone, shocked and worried for Asumi's life, asking questions to which no one replied. Asumi wished he could come to her aid, realizing she was about to die in the most horrific way. Pumpkin Knight used his knife to scoop out her left eyeball, like it was ice cream. As Asumi ran with one bloody eyeball, she pleaded for her life, running out of her house to seek help, but everywhere was eerily quiet. No more, no more, she begged. She managed to reach the road to ask for help, but couldn't see. Suddenly a car crashed into her, a long lorry crushing her into pieces, separating her legs from her body, with her upper body getting stuck between the lorry's tires. The scene shocked everyone on the road, as they wondered where she had come from. Kazu kept trying to talk to Asumi, but Naoko picked up and said, "Asumi is no more." Kazu replied with shock, "What happened?" Pumpkin Knight ominously responded, "You are next," before Kazu switched off his phone in fear. Everyone gathered for her burial, including her classmates from junior school, mourning her death. They discussed what happened to Asumi before she died, questioning why Kazu didn't contact the police immediately. Saki was annoyed with Kazu, but they all agreed they didn't want the police to suspect them. The news of the tragedy at Hiranyama Clinic spread rapidly, leaving everyone in the area wondering about the details of the incident. How did 20 people meet their demise in such a gruesome manner? The scene was horrifying, causing nearby residents to panic and fear for their safety. Witnesses claimed to have seen a patient, believed to be the culprit, fleeing from the scene. Meanwhile, Naoko Kyono reveled in her successful achievements. "Soon enough, everyone will be in terror," she declared. She took pleasure in describing what she had done with Asumi's eyeball, preserving it in a jar like an expensive trophy. Asumi's friends grew suspicious of Naoko, contemplating whether she could be involved in the tragic events. Back in junior school, they all knew Naoko to behave like a child, and the voice of the caller that murdered Asumi sounded like a child. She was self-centered and egoistic. As they discussed Naoko, a suggestion arose from Naruto. If she is still with Asumi's phone, she can be tracked with her GPS, and they will catch her before the police do. We could make it look like a suicide. Naruto's proposal startled the rest of the group, leaving them confused and scared. "Kill her. Are you serious? Someone might overhear us," one of them whispered nervously. As they debated the idea, their yearhead, Hirokawa, happened to pass by and caught wind of their conversation. They quickly changed the topic to a video game, hoping to divert Hirokawa's attention. Confused, he walked away with his head down. Continuing their discussion later, they plotted to eliminate Naoko to prevent her from harming them. Naruto was determined and filled with anger. Naruto continued, telling the group, "It's the only thing we can do. Even if she's caught, they'll treat her as innocent because she's mentally ill. Once the public loses focus on her, she'll be free, and we'll all be targeted again. She's capable of doing it herself, even considering carrying out the act without the gang's assistance." On the other hand, Naruto continued by telling them they couldn't be scared forever. Arata agreed with Naruto, claiming that Naoko was indeed their enemy and they should take action. Saki, overwhelmed, shouted that she didn't have the heart to kill anyone and insisted that only the others should do it. Arata, frustrated, shouted back that if she couldn't handle it, the men would take care of it, as Naoko was their enemy. Kazu stood there, speechless. Opposed the idea, not wanting the gang to revert to their old ways of bullying and causing pain to others, reminiscent of their junior high days. In the dimly lit halls of junior high, Kazu found himself unable to intervene as the gang mercilessly bullied their classmate, particularly targeting Naoko because she was weak then and childish. "Give us your phone," the gang demanded, their intent clear as they planned to track Asumi's phone using GPS. Kazu, with a sense of dread, resisted their violent plan to harm Naoko. but the gang's aggression intensified. "We're being targeted. Just hand it over. Come on, man, hurry up," they yelled, their voices echoing down the corridor. As Kazu attempted to switch on his phone, it ominously beeped, signaling a message. "Pumpkin Knight has sent you a private message." Confusion and tension thickened the air, contrasting with the cold chill that seemed to settle over them. Despite the freezing atmosphere, Kazu's body was drenched in sweat, his nerves on edge. To their collective alarm, each member of the gang received the same message from Pumpkin Knight. "We all got the same new follower," they exclaimed in disbelief, their voices trembling. Haunted by memories of high school, they recalled Naoko's unsettling obsession with a Halloween pumpkin, a fixation that had hinted at her descent into madness. Fear and dread gripped their hearts as they collectively screamed, a chorus of terror piercing the silence. "Ah!" Saki, overwhelmed by panic and guilt, cried out. "Every one of us will die. It's a sign. We have to pray for our sins. This is because of what we did before." Without a moment's hesitation, Saki fled, her footsteps echoing down the empty hall, oblivious to the lurking danger of Naoko. Naruto, wearing a malevolent smile, suggested that Saki's flight could serve as bait to lure Naoko into their trap. However, dissent spread among the gang, some disagreeing with Naruto's ruthless plan, while others frantically searched for Saki, their anxiety palpable as they split up to scour every corner in search of their distressed friend. Meanwhile, Saki, consumed by overwhelming fear, sought refuge on the steps near the exit, her sobs echoing through the hallway like a haunting melody. "I don't want to die," she whimpered, her voice trembling with terror. Her cries caught the attention of the yearhead, who approached her with concern etched on his face. Sensing her distress, he gently inquired about the source of her anguish, his voice a soothing contrast to the chaos unfolding around them. He told her he had heard she was familiar with the deceased, going way back in junior school. Saki wondered where he got his information from and tried to remain quiet. He kept pressing, asking if she or her friends knew anything. Frustrated, she finally answered, "Who the hell do?" As Saki contemplated confiding in the yearhead, a sudden chill swept through the hallway, heralding Pumpkin Knight's presence. With chilling precision, Pumpkin Knight's blade sliced through the yearhead's head, a grotesque spectacle that left Saki frozen in horror. The metallic scent of blood filled the air, mingling with Saki's terror as she watched the crimson cascade from the yearhead's wound, her eyes widening in disbelief. Time seemed to slow to a crawl as Naoko, her eyes gleaming with malice, revealed herself with a chilling whisper. "I've been waiting for you, Saki." The walls of the hallway seemed to close in, suffocating Saki with a sense of impending doom as Naoko's sinister presence loomed over her. A terrifying realization settling in. There was no escape from Pumpkin Knight's deadly game. As her eyes dilated in horror, the metallic scent of blood filled the air, time seeming to slow to a crawl. Pumpkin Knight withdrew her blade from his head with a sickening gouache, brain matter splattering in all directions. Saki had never experienced such sheer terror. Does Saki deserve to die? Saki is so sweet and loving. It just doesn't feel right. Oh, Pumpkin, forgive Saki. If you believe Saki deserves a gruesome fate, comment below. The horrific scene with Saki continued to unfold, a narrative that would surely unsettle bullies. Pumpkin Knight twirled her sinister scooping knife, the impact of each strike ringing out with a dreadful bang, bang, bang. "Oh my gosh, I hope Saki is okay. Oh dear Saki." Naoko continued instilling fear and torture on Saki, breaking her nose and face. Naoko, not relenting, told Saki there would be plenty of time to cry. Saki, in fear, kept crying for help. Naoko continued her assault, striking Saki's nose again and again. She sat on top of Saki, dislocating her facial bones with relentless blows, while, as the rest of her friends continued their frantic search for Saki, Naruto attempted to contact her. Nomizu, a sultry acquaintance with an interest in Naruto, persisted in her attempts to engage him, her attire designed to captivate him. However, Naruto remained steadfast in his quest to eliminate Naoko, brushing off Nomizu's advances in his frustration. Unaware of the danger they faced, Nomizu persisted out of a genuine desire to help, oblivious to the grave circumstances. In her curiosity, Nomizu questioned if Asimi, the girl who had been murdered, was a friend of hers. Naruto, growing increasingly irritated, wondered how Nomizu had acquired her information, cautioning her about her suspicious behavior. As their conversation unfolded, a mysterious hand triggered the fire alarm, throwing the building into chaos. Amidst the confusion, the gang hurriedly evacuated. As Naruto stealthily moved the dead body down the hallway, hidden from view, Saki struggled to call for help, but a blow from Pumpkin Knight's scooping knife silenced her cries. In a chilling display, Pumpkin Knight approached Asumi's picture, ominously hinting that Saki would meet a similar fate soon. Kazu looked confused as he ran out of the building. "This is a funeral, damn it," he muttered. Everyone who had evacuated began to contemplate why the fire alarm was triggered, as there was no sign of smoke or fire. Still, there was no sign of Saki. He asked the rest of the gang if they had seen her, but no one had. Kazu concluded that they had been pranked, likely by Naoko Kirino. He spotted Arata and hoped she might be with him. "Haven't seen a lick of her," he said. Kazu and Arata looked at Naruto in disgust as Nomizu flirted and tried to cling to him. Kazu continued, saying that Naruto and Asimi used to sleep with each other. Arata shouted, "What the hell, man?" Naruto's bad character really got the better of him, Kazu thought. It was time for the coffin. They moved Asimi's coffin, ready for cremation according to their culture. All of Asimi's family members were grieving and crying over her loss. Everybody gathered to pay their last respects. "Oh, Asimi," Kazu said in grief. As the funeral proceedings commenced, Kazu expressed regret over his inability to save Asumi, his words drowned out by the mournful atmosphere. Observers in the crowd whispered about Saki's fate, noting her disfigured body entangled in the truck's rear wheel. Suddenly, Pumpkin Knight appeared on the roof, bidding farewell, waving her hand with a cryptic "bye-bye." Kazu, bewildered by the sight, realized that Saki was in grave danger, a realization that spurred them into action. Racing to save Saki before Naoko could strike, they hailed a taxi, their determination unwavering as Pumpkin Knight's ominous words echoed in their minds. There would be no forgiveness. Naoko's actions were beyond belief. She revealed herself to be a deranged maniac, capable of unspeakable brutality. To everyone's horror, she hung their junior head on the building, a grotesque display that sent shivers down the spine of anyone who witnessed it. The gruesome scene didn't stop there. With chilling precision, Naoko drove a screwdriver into his eyes, leaving them a sight of unimaginable horror. The rest of his body bore the marks of her twisted handiwork, a knife blade embedded in his flesh, scissors that had been used to tear him open, leaving his intestines gruesomely exposed, dangling out for all to see. The question lingered heavy in the air. Did their junior head truly deserve such a horrific fate? As the news of the heinous act spread, shock and disbelief gripped the community. Naoko's actions defied all sense of humanity, plunging those around her into a state of profound fear and uncertainty. Rumors swirled about the motivations behind such a brutal act, with whispers of revenge and madness circulating among the horrified onlookers. The once respected junior head now lay as a stark reminder of the depths of darkness that Naoko was capable of unleashing. As they rushed into the taxi, informing the driver of their destination at the crematorium, the driver inquired if they were high school students. "You're right," Kazu replied with a shy smile. It seemed Naruto had something on his mind all along, fueled by his love for Asumi. He never had the chance to confess his feelings to her, and now, in a state of depression, he spoke about her. "Oh man," the driver said, pity evident in his voice. Naruto wished to express his love for Asumi before she turned to ash, a sentiment that surprised his friends. None of them knew he had feelings for her. As they settled into the ride, Kazu attempted to question Naruto's sincerity, but Naruto, with determination, insisted that he was sincere. The driver's erratic driving abruptly interrupted their conversation, causing Kazu to express fear that the driver might kill them before Naoko does. "Speak of the devil," someone exclaimed, as Naoko suddenly appeared next to their taxi, riding a bike. The group screamed in shock as Naoko struck their vehicle's front screen with a metal pipe, causing it to crash. She ruthlessly killed the innocent taxi driver, leaving them to grapple with the grim reality of death. In a fit of anger and defiance, Kazu tried to stand up to face Naoko, ignoring his own injuries. "Naoko!" he screamed, but she drove off, satisfied with achieving her objective. Kazu collapsed to the ground, suffering from serious injuries inflicted by the accident Naoko caused, lamenting his inability to help Saki, who was tied up in Asumi's coffin atop her mangled body parts. Unable to move inside the coffin, Saki realized Asumi's body was beneath her. "Is that Asumi?" she exclaimed in fear, her realization sinking in as she became conscious of her dire situation. Naoko held up Asumi's phone, teasing that the worst was yet to come. They proceeded to move the coffin into the crematorium, leaving Saki terrified as she realized her fate. No one outside the coffin knew Saki was inside, leading her to plea for mercy in vain. The tragedy unfolded inside. Saki was terrified as they moved the coffin, ready to be burnt according to their culture. All of Saki's relatives were still mourning the death of Asumi, unaware that they were about to burn Saki. Kazu and the rest of the gang, aware of what Naoko was planning, feared the great danger Saki was about to face. When they started burning Asumi's coffin, the heat was intense enough to turn anyone inside to ashes. However, this time, will Saki be saved? They closed the coffin and started the ceremony. "Stop please," Saki says, in distress. Naoko watched the ceremony from afar. Seeing the burning furnace, she confirmed her success and danced triumphantly, believing her mission had been accomplished. Silence, as Naoko reveled in her madness, celebrating another victory with a morbid dance. As Naoko danced in macabre jubilation, reveling in her heinous deeds, the security personnel approached her cautiously. Their question pierced the eerie atmosphere. "What's with the bike? What are you doing here?" Their suspicion grew as they moved closer to remove her Halloween costume, believing it to be a mere act of playful mischief. "Playtime is over, little lady. It's too early for Halloween," the security guard declared. Naoko's response was far from playful. In a sudden and horrifying twist, she lunged forward, her knife slashing from her jaw to her brain with a chilling precision. The security personnel recoiled in terror as Naoko dropped lifelessly to the ground, a senior student silenced in the grip of unimaginable horror. Her partner's screams echoed in the night as they attempted to flee, only to meet a similar fate as Naoko hurled her pipe through their head with a deadly accuracy. The chilling scene was captured on video, a final message from Naoko as she whispered, "It's good for YouTube," before her darkness claimed her victims and left a haunting legacy of fear and death.
Thank you for joining us on this harrowing journey. The suspense is far from over. Will Saki survive the flames, or is her fate sealed? What consequences await Naoko for her sinister actions? Is she justified in her pursuit of revenge, or has she gone too far? Stay tuned for the next part, where we unravel the next chapter of this dark tale. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to ShadowHour Stories so you won't miss any updates. Your thoughts and theories are welcome. Tell us what you think will happen next. Until then, embrace your darkness and keep your dreams alive.